John Eby, Bill Yeagley, and a phone number. I don't know who that is. Tom, do you know if the 610 phone number connection is Carolyn Holtzman?
I wouldn't think so, but I don't know who it is.
Okay. Well, what we're going to do, we're about a minute to 6 o'clock. We'll wait like we have been, giving everybody the benefit of the doubt with getting onto the Zoom. Just a little bit maybe after 6, and hopefully Commissioner Holtzman will be here by then. Definitely have Commissioner Shin, Commissioner Black, Commissioner Kutz. Good evening, everybody. And I'll just repeat it. We're going to wait about a minute or so after 6 to give Commissioner Holtzman and whoever else some time to get on to the Zoom call.
Okay, Carolyn's joining us now, Dean.
Great. Looks like she's still connecting. Carolyn, Dean Vallone, can you hear me? Commissioner Holtzman, can you hear me? It's Dean Vallone. Commissioner Holtzman, if you can hear me, this is Dean Vallone. Let us know when you come into the meeting, if you will. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and get started. Looks like Commissioner Holtzman is attempting to connect, so she'll be with us here. One more time, Carolyn, are you with us? If so, if you can unmute, that'd be great. So it looks like we do have Commissioner Shin, Commissioner Black, Commissioner Kutz, and it looks like we have Commissioner Holtzman. And hopefully she will confirm that she's on with us here shortly. But I'm going to go ahead and start the meeting, everybody. Good evening and welcome, everybody, to Lower Allen. I'm calling this meeting of Lower Allen Board of Commissioners. It's a regular meeting, April 26, 2021, scheduled for 6 p.m. To order. Proof of publication is available should you want to review that. We do begin our meetings with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. And after the prayer, I believe there will be a American flag put up on the screen if you don't have one in your home. Let's pray. We pray this day to give thanks for all the many blessings bestowed upon our township. Watch over us who are entrusted with the administration of this township. Create in us the earnest desire to serve faithfully and permit us to experience the joys of noble service completed for our residents. Encourage cooperation from those who are served and from those who serve. Help us to use every willing service and every effort put forth for good government. Heavenly Father, we ask your guidance to help us as commissioners to make the right decisions. We ask that you aid our staff as they perform the daily tasks of running our township, and we request that you be by our first responders as they protect our residents and see that they return home safe at the end of each day. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
If you're able to stand for the pledge.
Not sure we have a flag tonight, Dean, so go ahead.
Okay, I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag
to the United States
United
of
States
America,
of America,
to the republic,
The republic
which is stands
which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
all.
All right. Terrific. We had the flag after all. Again, good evening, everyone joining us. Whether you're here on this Zoom call in person or if you're viewing through YouTube and the live stream, welcome. My name is Dean Vallone. I'm the current president of the Board of Commissioners here in Lower Allen Township. This evening, I believe we have our quorum of 5 of us, Commissioner Richard Shin, Commissioner Ed Black, Commissioner Thomas Kutz, and Commissioner Carolyn Holtzman are with us this evening. And again, welcome. The first order of business on our agenda this evening is the approval of the meeting minutes from April 12th, 2021. Commissioners, we received a copy of the minutes in our packet this week. Hopefully you've had enough time to review them. And if you have any questions, now would be a good time, or comments or adjustments to those minutes that you'd like to propose. Otherwise, I'd be seeking a motion to approve the minutes from April 12th, 2021.
So moved.
Second,
I have a motion from Commissioner Shin. I have a second from Commissioner Black. Is there any further questions or comments on or discussion on the minutes? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Solicitor Minor, I just want to confirm that I'm collecting votes from everybody, including Carolyn, seeing that she's just joined us on the Zoom, but I have not made actual contact with her. I don't know if she's here for sure.
Yeah, she's online, Dean. Her microphone's still off though.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Oh. Carolyn, are you there? Keeps going in and out. So
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, great, Carolyn. Did you hear us on the?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, great. And I'm assuming you had an aye vote?
Yep.
Okay, terrific. Thanks. Great to have you with us, Carolyn.
Thanks.
We're going to move on to number 4 on our agenda, and this is a motion to adopt resolution 2021-R-14, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Lower Allen Township, Cumberland County, Pennsylvania, recognizing, commending, and honoring Daniel J. Flint, PE, for his years of service to the residents of Lower Allen Township. I just want to make one comment. Dan, I'm sure you're here with us. 23 years. Wow. Thanks for your service before I call for this motion.
I make that motion, Mr. President.
I second it.
I have a motion from Commissioner Shin. I have a second from Commissioner Holtzman. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Thanks
opposed?
for your service, Dan, and we're gonna miss you.
That's absolutely.
Yes. Motion carries. And I tell you what, folks, there's going to be a presentation to Dan following this passing of the resolution. The motion did carry 5-0. And I would encourage everyone who have words to say. Perhaps we can share those words with Dan Flint just after this presentation. Manager Verneau, are you going to do this presentation this evening?
yes, I am. Dan's here with me in my office, so can make the presentation.
Outstanding.
First thing, this is a copy of the resolution that you just read, or actually hasn't been read. Would you like me to read the resolution?
Yeah,
Yes, please.
It may take a while. There's a lot on here. Dan's done a lot.
well, he worked hard.
in his
He's
20
worth it.
in here. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Lower Allen Township desires to express its recognition and gratitude for 23 years of service provided by Daniel J. Flint. Whereas Daniel J. Flint first joined Lower Allen Township in 1998 as a community development coordinator in the Community and Economic Development Department, and whereas Daniel J. Flint was promoted to the position of Community Development Director in the Community and Economic Development Department in 1999. And whereas Daniel J. Flint was appointed as a Township Engineer, Assistant Township Zoning Officer, and Assistant Township Code Official in 2000. And whereas Daniel J. Flint was appointed as the Building Code Official for Lower Allen Township in 2004. And whereas Daniel J. Flint was appointed by the Cumberland County Commissioners as the Cumberland East Plan Development Section Representative to the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission in 2008. And whereas Daniel J. Flint received a commendation letter in 2009 from Lower Allen Township, recognizing his dedication to voluntary community service. And whereas Daniel J. Flint successfully completed the process and examination to become an Association of State Floodplain Managers Incorporated, a certified floodplain manager in 2010. And whereas Daniel J. Flint was appointed as the Cumberland County representative to the Harrisburg Area Transportation Study, otherwise known as HATS, committee in 2017. And whereas Daniel J. Flint was elected as president of the American Public Works Association, Capital Branch in 2018. And whereas Daniel J. Flint has received many letters of appreciation from staff and citizens for a variety of reasons, now hereby resolved that sincere gratitude and appreciation be and are hereby extended to Daniel J. Flint for his 23 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Lower Allen Township, Cumberland County, and that this recognition be spread upon the minutes and records of Lower Allen Township for perpetuity. Adopted into resolution this 26th day of April, 2021.
Dan,
Photographer.
there you go. Perfect.
We also have a couple of other things here for Dan. As is tradition, we've give Dan something to remember us by so he can look at it every day. He remembers his years here at Lower Allen Township.
All we need is all the people out front.
You have a big bathroom, Dan?
We also have a small gift for Dan, as is our policy and tradition, to send him out with a small gift to do with as he would prefer. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess commissioners are going to want to have some things to say then.
Yeah, Dan, I'll go ahead and start. I just, as you know, I mean, I've spent some time with you in the last month or so. I said I wanted to visit you at least a few times before you left us. And I just wanted to say thank you again as one of the newest people on the board that lives in the township, the newest residents on the board living in the township. You really helped me understand how things are put together around here, we'll say. And I appreciate every time that I've ever asked you for any guidance on a question for a resident or a business when they've had questions, you've gotten right back to me. You've gave me the sincere, honest answer. Obviously, it always hasn't been exactly what somebody would want to hear, but your honesty and forthrightness has been a great asset, I believe, to Lower Allen Township, and has brought a lot of integrity here. And I'd like to thank you again for your friendship, and I wish you the best in your next venture. I believe you're gonna, if I understand correctly, gonna be doing a lot of mission work, and I appreciate that. And really grateful for your service to Lower Allen Township, and I wish you well.
Dan, I've served with you for 19 of those 23 years. And I've always felt very, very comfortable with the answers that you gave and the reports that you presented us. I never needed to second guess what you were doing. I think you're fastidious, and I mean that in the most flattering way. So I wish you well as well. And thanks for all that you've done for the residents and me. Appreciate it.
Commissioner, just jump in, commissioners, and then we'll open her up.
Dan, go ahead, Tom.
Hey, Dan, as the newest commissioner here, I know I had a lot of questions in the last year. Appreciate all your help, expertise, and professional advice on the best foot forward for our township. I know we are well served by your expertise, and Brad will have big shoes to fill. But certainly appreciate all your time, effort, and dedication. And I think it's admirable what you're retiring to go do. And I think that speaks volumes about your character, what you're involved in outside of your work. And we're very grateful to have someone with that character represent the township for the last 23 years. And you will be missed. Thank you so much.
Carolyn?
Dan, I've known you for quite a while, since I started out as an EMT, and you were there a while. And it's been a pleasure knowing you. Your work has been fantastic. You are one of the best, if not the best engineer we've ever come across. And we sure hate to lose you, but I hope when you're gone, you do stop in and see us sometimes and visit and keep us up to date on your new project, which sounds great, but very admirable for you, and knowing you're the type of person to do it. So I wish you well. I wish your wife well putting up with you. And God love you, and we are definitely going to miss you.
That's a fact.
Commissioner Black?
Yes. Dan, when our previous manager was here, Ray, he called me in and he said, "What should we be paying someone like this?" And I gave him a sky high number. That's how you got that great salary, Dan. You did well. But no, you should be proud of everything you have helped us through here at Lower Allen Township.
That's right.
I presume you're going to keep your home in Hampton, so you'll get back here and you can get to see us and so forth. But you can also be proud of your volunteer service. You're helping people in Maine, I understand, and that's very great on your part. You've always had that in your heart and in your work effort, and I congratulate you. So have an extremely long and happy retirement, Dan, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Um,
I'll just,
yeah,
okay.
go ahead, Tom.
I know that Dan's wife, Nancy, and at least one of his daughters, Sarah, is on the call tonight. And I want to thank Dan's family for sharing him with us all these years. Dan was here when I became the manager, and if my time here can be considered all successful, a large part of that is due to Dan being here and providing answers to things on a daily basis. I bug him a lot. I just appear in the doorway, and he's always able to help me out. And it's going to be a transition. It's going to be a tough transition continuing without him. But I know our new engineer's going to do a great job as well. But I don't know, Dan, it's been a long time, man. Partners. So
Fantastic.
At the risk of making this too complicated, it's a special night in a way. And Dan, I'm going to let anyone, I know that a lot of folks have already been talking to you in the organization, but anyone that would like to wish Dan well, just go ahead and see how this works. Just cut in a little bit, and we'll give it a minute or two.
May I, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Minor.
Dan, I just want to tell you, it's been great to work with you. I became solicitor the same year you became engineer. You made, my job much easier. Plus, you were just a delight to work with. Very responsive, always cooperative, very even-tempered. You will be missed. But I appreciate a lot of things that I learned from you over that time. But good luck to you, and thank you.
Anybody else? Dan, would you like to say anything to the Zoom call?
I'll be brief, as has been my custom. It's been a great opportunity to work here. Worked with some great people, everybody that's really interested in community development, community service rather. Up and down the line, all the people that I've had the opportunity to work with here. I've met and worked with a lot of great residents on a number of things. And it's been great to work with a board whose philosophy was to, set the direction for the township and then hire professionals and let them do their job. That has made a great work environment. And that really starts with the management, the manager. 23 years here, there's only been 2 managers. They've both been terrific managers and leaders of the group, and that's what's made it a great place to work. So I thank you all very much for the opportunity to be able to do that.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, well, again, thanks, Dan, for your 23 years of dedicated service to Lower Allen Township. Moving on in our agenda, folks, this is the point in the agenda for audience participation. Basically, anyone who's here joining us for any item that's on our agenda. If you're here to speak or contribute to any item on our agenda as discussion this evening, if now's the time to let us know. And if you would let us know by letting the manager, Tom Verneau, or the assistant manager, Aaron Trone, know through the chat box that you intend to participate on any item on our agenda, please do so now. We'll just give it a little bit of time here. And then Mr. Manager, if you let me know if you hear anything, that'd be great.
Yeah, will do. They can also use your little hand, raise their hand.
Got it. You can also use your hand icon. I believe that's what they call it.
It doesn't look like anyone's speaking up at this time.
Okay, and as we have in the past, we'll be really cooperative using the Zoom call. If anyone didn't get through right away, just please let Tom Verneau, Aaron Trone, or raise your hand, and we may circle back to that item if you want to comment. Thank you. Next on our agenda is our consent agenda. Any commissioner, staff member, or anyone in attendance who would like to have an item on the consent agenda removed for further discussion can request so now. Is there a request to remove any item or items on the consent agenda?
Mr. President, I just had a quick question of one of them. Do we really have to go through the rigmarole of taking it off? I'd like to, I'm not having a problem voting for it. I'd just like to ask a question of the engineer. May I do that?
Yeah, Commissioner, could you do it if there's a second and just
Certainly, I
that
would
route?
move then that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Shin to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Holtzman. Commissioner Shin, I understand you have some comment.
Thank you. It's on the it's the commission, it's the the engineer's report. I'm looking at item 1 and 1G where it reads drainage plan and number and so and so 1 Hartsdale Drive land development. What other than the house is going to be built on this spot?
Hello, Mr. Commissioner Shin.
Yes.
To answer your question, the work we did on this last month was inspecting some of the sidewalks that were being installed and some of the driveway cut-ins, and they also have some stormwater management BMPs that are being installed on their property.
Yeah. Now, is that a structure or moving the dirt
Yeah,
around?
it's like a subsurface structure. It's basically a rock pit.
All right, and you say there will be a sidewalk there.
Yes.
Okay, that was it, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Engineer.
Yep.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this motion? I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as it stands, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to your president, I have a few items this evening. I'm looking for a motion to approve the check register of April 23rd, 2021 in the amount of $16,529.93.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Shin, a second from Commissioner Kutz. Is there any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Mr. President, I think we may have missed 7B.
That would be part of the
For the
consent.
consent agenda. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good.
You
I'll
got
go
it.
back. I'll get back in my hole and be quiet.
You know, we all just need patience on the Zoom calls. I totally get it.
Just trying to help.
Yes, you are. So back to the motion to approve the check register. Was there any opposed? Okay, the motion carries 5-0. And now I'd be seeking a motion to adopt resolution 2021-R-15, 2021 records.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Kutz, and I think I heard Commissioner Holtzman on the second.
Correct.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Could I ask a question about this particular, not the resolution, but what do we do to, as we dispose of these records, how is the information retained for historical purposes? Mr. Manager.
Yes, Commissioner Shin, not all of it is we follow the state records retention guideline, and those items that we can, that are stale, they just get, or they get shredded. There are some items that we save on electronic media.
Mhm.
They're on whatever tapes they are. I'm probably showing my age. I'm sure they don't use tapes anymore, but
Maybe they have them on microfiche, Tom.
somewhere that all this is, some of this is stored on. Of course, property records, we have to keep forever, and certain pension and personnel records we have to keep much longer.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Shin. I do apologize for moving ahead of you on that. Folks, I'm going to recall for this vote. Is there any further discussion or questions on adopting resolution 2021 R-15? Therefore, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next, I'd be looking for a motion to adopt resolution 2021-R-16, hiring Russell T. Olson as maintenance specialist for the Public Works Department effective May 10th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from
We're in
Commissioner.
competition, Rick.
I'm going to be quiet for the rest of the night, Carolyn. You got the seconds going on. Good for you.
I have a motion from Commissioner Kutz, and I don't think that was quite a tie. I'm gonna give that one to Commissioner Shin. Commissioner.
You're cheap.
The second on that goes to Commissioner Shin.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any questions or any discussion that anybody would like to take up on this resolution? Hearing none, I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Is there any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next on our agenda is the place where any business pertinent to township can be discussed by anyone joining us this evening. We do try to limit our discussions on topics to about 15 minutes per person. And so the same as notifying the manager and assistant manager about speaking on the items on the consent agenda, if you'll notify them as well, if you would like to bring up anything pertinent to the township this evening. We'll just give this a little bit of time. Or raise your hand via Zoom.
Don't see any, Mr. President.
Okay, at this point, we don't see anyone that's looking to come forward to bring up any information pertinent to the township. But again, if you change your mind, we'll be a little flexible this evening. If something comes up, just notify either Tom or Aaron. Thank you. Moving on to our township engineer, Brad McCullough. You're solo tonight.
Yep, that's right. All right, we got 3 items up for discussion and possible action tonight. Item 10A on the agenda is to approve increasing financial security for SLD docket number 2016-04, which is High Point Phase 1.3, from $88,937.01 to $97,830.71, and establishing a new expiration date of April 26, 2022. A little background on this is, since construction isn't completed for that phase, the applicant has requested that they extend the financial security for a year, and with that, we increase the amount 10%, which gives the difference from year to year. With that said,
Excuse me, who was that for again?
this would be for charter for High Point Phase 1.3.
Okay.
Okay. My question is with the 10%. So they're asking to extend it for a year. Is the 10% rule standard, or do you know if we've made exceptions in the past? I'm just curious.
10% is a standard increase year to year for contingencies and inflation.
It's in the MPC, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, anything else?
Brad, is there any special reason that this is being extended?
Just because construction's not complete yet. And I know they're still out there putting signs in now, so we can get the streets adopted, and yeah, so they're not quite done yet. That's the only reason.
Okay, thanks, Brad.
Yep.
Well, Mr. President, I'm ready to make a motion to approve increasing financial security for subdivision land development docket number 2016-04, High Point Phase 1.3, from $88,937.01 to $97,830.71, and establishing a new expiration date of April 26, 2022.
Second.
I have a motion as proposed by Commissioner Shin, and I have a second from Commissioner Holtzman. Is there any further questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Moving on.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is to approve a settlement agreement and release with Sunoco Pipeline LP. This agreement basically provides financial security for roadway repairs that were performed along Sheepford Road as part of their pipeline installation. The repairs were completed last year and already inspected by township staff. All those repairs were acceptable, and Sunoco has ceased using the roadway as of now. This financial security will be provided until September 28, 2021, when a final inspection will occur prior to releasing Sunoco from the agreement. Just a little background, this isn't something that we require, but since it's a pipeline, the PUC is involved, and it's something that they require.
I see. Well, I actually went out with Dan and some other folks from the township, meeting with their contractors and their folks on this issue. I was interested in it, and I thought they all handled it from a business standpoint very well. And seeing the repairs done quite often, because I live out this way where it is, I think they did a pretty good job anyway. So, yeah. But anyway, this is the question is possible for action tonight, if anyone's so inclined to make a motion to for the settlement agreement.
I'll make a motion, Mr. President, to approve settlement agreement and release with the Sunoco Pipeline LP, and we've been provided a memo and the agreement, a blank agreement with it.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Shin, a second from Commissioner Black. Is there any further questions or comments on this, or discussion on this releasing this settlement agreement.
Is there any, Dean, is there anyone in your neighborhood who is not happy with the settlement?
No, one person early on, what, I don't think anyone knows about the settlement, Commissioner, but with the work, I'm assuming is what you meant. The one person early on, before the work was actually completed, was just wondering, and I inquired, I believe, with the township engineer at that time, you know, what the time frame was. And with the COVID situation, things were delayed. But since then, I spoke with that person. Sounds like that they were content with the work that was done.
Good.
Yeah. But thanks for asking, because that's that definitely was a discussion I had with a resident. So any other questions or comments or discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next, Brad.
The last item on the agenda for me tonight is item 10C, and it's to approve a license and indemnity agreement for banner over Township Road for Strong Road. This agreement and banner location have been revised based on discussions at previous board meetings and now requires final approval from the Board of Commissioners. I believe Anthony Ferranda Diedrich from Charter Homes is present tonight, and he can be available as well as I to answer any questions pertaining to the final banner location. And that the banner location was provided on the site plan in your packets for this week. So if there's any
Mr.
questions.
Dietrich is here, and he's that phone, the 610 phone number.
Okay.
Mr. President, so that we can open this up for just maybe a comment or more. Would you like a motion before we do that?
Well, this is discussion and possible action, so I'm okay with discussion at this point.
Well, then I'm on page 2, item E. And most especially, the message on the street banner shall promote only civic events occurring within the Arcona neighborhood. But then it reads, no more than 20% of the message may relate to naming or advertising a commercial product, enterprise, business, or company. I'm confused. If it's promoting civic events only, why would there be any commercial product information on there? And I'm willing to hear the, by the way, maybe I should have said this before I asked my question. Since Anthony is on the call or in the meeting, I would like to extend my deepest appreciation for the lengths to which Charter has gone to at least satisfy the concerns I had. So I want to say that. But I'd also, having said that, I wonder what if I can get unconfused on item E on page 2.
Anthony, if you can chime in, if you feel inclined, that'd be great. Thanks. Maybe he's not with us. I don't have a full screen of all the participants at this point. Could you let me know if
He's still on.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, there he
I'm
is.
sorry. I had my cell phone mute. I apologize.
All right. The floor is
I
yours,
apologize.
Anthony.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Shin, thanks for your words at the outset of your question. I appreciate that. What you're referring to, I think there are two things at play. One is I believe that language related to the 20%, no more than 20%, is it's actually a PennDOT rule and regulation that relates to banners that are going to be placed over state roadways. So that language is being lifted from PennDOT specifications and requirements. And then, we've included it in there just to dovetail with what PennDOT would otherwise require. However, I could personally see a situation where, the words Arcona or Arcona neighborhood may be mentioned in a banner advertising something like a movie night or a farmer's market. And so just in terms of good practice and, wanted to include that provision in the event somebody would say, hey, you're now somehow advertising a commercial use. We would limit, the Arcona verbiage to no more than 20% of the banner.
That's innocent enough. I get that then. Thank you. That was the only question I had. It was not a deal killer. It was just a question. Thanks again, Anthony.
Yep.
I have a question. In the first paragraph of that agreement, it reads, the indemnity agreement is made as of this blank day of blank 2020. Is that correct?
No, no,
2021.
correct.
That looks like a typo.
Good pickup, Mr. Black.
We'll correct that.
This agreement was carried over from 2020, if you remember. The first time it brought was last fall, and that little change was missed.
It's no biggie.
Anthony, briefly, if I may, looking at the little sketch we have been provided, it says new 30-foot concrete banner frame, and that the road's 48 feet outside to outside. So this, am I correct in my understanding that the sign will be suspended 30 feet in the air and over 48 feet in width?
No, Commissioner, I do not think that is correct. Just bear with me here.
Okay.
And I will pull up. I will pull up what I think you're looking at there. We did update, as I'm doing that, I'll share with you that we did update the location of the banner. When I was with you a couple of months ago, we showed the banner further north on Strong Road, and we revised that and moved it further to the south. Commissioner, based on your comments about bringing that banner on Strong Road a little further away from the front yards of those buildings, of that first townhouse building.
Okay.
So I would point out that it shows a revised location. Now, are you looking at if the sheet would be, is it EX1? Is that what you are looking at, or is it a different sheet?
We were only given one sheet, and of course with the, it's not going to show up on Zoom. It's just a drawing of the street on Strong Road. It says 48 feet outside to outside foundation, existing 50-foot right-of-way, and then new, maybe that's 30-inch concrete banner frame foundation. I'm just trying to get a sense for the dimensions of the banner.
Yeah, the banner itself is
Not the banner. How high the frame's going to be?
Yeah, it's not 30 feet. I mean, in the air. I think it's 17 feet, 16 feet, 16 feet. Yeah, I was going to say 17 feet is sticking in my mind as the height.
That makes more sense to me. Okay. All right. I appreciate that. That's all I had, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I appreciate the commissioner's question. I wanted to ask myself, is there going to be, will there be any indication as to how high the banner is, for instance, for truckers or that kind of thing, so they don't end up getting into trouble with it? Is there any idea of how high? Will it be signage for how high the banners are?
You understand the question, Anthony?
Yeah, I understand that. Sometimes when you go under a bridge, if it's right. You might have a sign that talks about the clearance. No, we don't anticipate doing anything like that. I believe that the 17 feet is regulated by PennDOT in the sense that it can't be any lower than 17 feet for the very purpose that the reason that you're raising now, that you wouldn't want larger vehicles to, face interference from the banner. But
the trucks aren't taller than 17 feet. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yes.
Good to know. Thank you.
Well, I think we have a resident expert here, Brad. Isn't the vertical clearance on a highway 17.6?
I could double check that for you, but it sounds about right. Either 17.6 or 16 feet sticks in my head for some reason. But I believe 17.6 should be, plenty of room.
Well, that's out of my purview, folks, so I'm okay.
Anthony, just curious, how soon do you think this to be put up, and when do you think it'll be in use where the folks down there will be able to see a banner?
Yep. Well, I think we're ready to go. Certainly with the one on Strong Road. So once we, assuming that the board approves this request tonight, we just need to continue with the township staff to have a permit issued for the construction, erection of the banner on Strong Road. So within 30 days, if the township's review would complete within that time, we'd like to have that banner up along Strong Road called within 30 to 60 days. On Arcona Road, there's another level of approval that we have to go through once you approve our request. We've got to take your resolution approving the location of the banner on Strong Road and submit that to PennDOT. And frankly, Commissioner Vallone, I don't think we know how long it will take PennDOT to then approve our proposed location.
Gotcha.
If the thing's going to go into a black hole, we're not sure.
Okay.
Hopefully it's fairly speedy. We'll have to see.
Got that. Okay, so commissioners, if there's no other questions, I'll just say that we've certainly have had some healthy discussion with this topic within the last year on numerous occasions. And so I'm just curious to know what everybody thinks, if we want to take action on this evening or not.
Might be appropriate, Mr. President, if I were to make a motion, since I think I was the fly in the ointment for a while, that we approve license and indemnity agreement for a banner over Township Road for Strong Road.
And that's your motion, Rick?
That's my motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, so I have a motion from Commissioner Shin, a second from Commissioner Black. Is there any other discussion or comments?
Yeah, I just want to thank staff and charter staff for working on this. I appreciate it.
Any others? I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any opposed?
Aye.
Oh, excuse me, Commissioner Kutz. I apologize. I rushed you.
No, I couldn't get the mute there for a second.
Got it. Is there any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next on our agenda, and thank you, Anthony, for answering our questions.
Sure. Thank you.
Betcha.
And Dan, congratulations. It's fantastic.
Moving on, Stormwater Program Manager, I assume Rebecca's joined us this evening for this.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. President. I have 2 items on the agenda this evening for the Commissioner's consideration. The first item is a change order from All Star Ecology for, it's the first change order for the Moreland Basin. It's for the installation of jute matting at a cost of $16,413. We had some issues with the first two bioretention facilities that were installed in the township with the mulch floating and suffocating the plug plantings. To avoid this, we would like to have some jute matting installed on the floor of the basin to prevent this from occurring.
Becky, you're positive this is going to help?
Yes, it will, for
And
sure.
Ms. Davis, just to confirm what you've given us in our memo, that this additional funding is all covered by the grant award. Is that correct?
Yes, Commissioner, that is correct.
Wonderful.
Commissioner, is there any other questions? And I'm assuming there's no action being requested of the board. Is that correct?
Due to the cost of the change order, I would like the board to approve the amount due to the cost of the $16,413.
Mr. President, I'd be happy to make such a motion if there's no other questions.
Second.
Okay, so I do have a motion on this question of this Moreland Basin retrofit project to increase of that project as presented by our stormwater program manager. And I have a second on that motion by Commissioner Holtzman. Any further discussion or questions? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. President. Moving forward, my second item, this is our preparedness, prevention, and contingency plan. This is a plan that the township prepares every year and submits with our annual report to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. The reason for this plan is to prevent any discharge of polluting materials to the surface or groundwater from our public works facility. So we update this every year with current contact information. The plan has been updated and the outfall has been inspected at the facility. So I'm looking for approval of this plan this evening.
Got it. Thank you. Commissioners?
Rebecca, I thought it was very well done. I wonder if many townships go into the detail that you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Black.
Are you looking for this to be accepted, approved as accepted?
Yes.
I move that, Mr. President, I would move that we accept this very detailed and well-prepared updated PPC plan as presented to us.
Second.
Okay, got it. I thought it was. I have a motion to approve the preparedness, prevention, and contingency plan for the Public Works facility by Commissioner Shin, and I have a second by Commissioner Holtzman. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Is that all this evening?
That is. Thank you, Mr. President.
You bet. Thank you. I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Curious to know, there's all of these firsts for us, and I think this is going to be the first full season in swing coming into the rainy season and that. And I'm just wondering how things are going from your perspective, getting feedback from residents and perhaps some businesses and organizations that have properties on not just the inspection process of their BMPs, but how people are coming in and inquiring. I know I had my inquiries about what mitigation would possibly need to happen on my property if I chose to add some impervious coverage. But I'm just curious to know if how that's going internally, if people are coming in and being respectful of the process, or struggling at all. I'm just curious.
No, it's been a really great process. I have a lot of inquiries due to the stormwater fee because we have the credit program. So it's actually caused a healthy discussion with respect to why we are requiring, these best management practices, and also most of the responses, I'd say the majority of the responses that I get from commercial and residential owners are that they feel fortunate that we're offering that credit. So if they put that best management practice in, because it is an expense, that we are going to the extent of offering a credit off of their stormwater fee, and we offer up to a 50% reduction.
Yeah, and I've heard people talk about getting that. I've also heard some folks being familiar with the process as we've talked about it, some details that I wouldn't think the average person would know. And so I think the DEP or whoever's leading that, and of course we are too in the education part, I think their process in which they're trying to communicate stormwater management to the publics, I think getting through to some people, and I think people are starting to actually be aware of it at the very least, whether they like it or not, but they're aware of it. And that's helpful because it doesn't seem like it's hitting people by surprise as much in the discussions. So.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you for your hard work on this.
Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Moving on to community and economic development.
Good evening. I just wanted to update you tonight on the Gettysburg Road Corridor project. This was a study that was advised that we take on in our comp plan and in our PED bike plan. And as you remember, we received full funding for it from Tri-County Planning Agency. We have since hired a consultant, Michael Baker. They had a kickoff meeting with us in about late February. In that time, they have gathered a bunch of information from PennDOT about crash data. They have gathered information on zoning. They've also conducted about 10 stakeholder interviews, and they've done a field study of the corridor. And just to kind of clarify, this corridor is Gettysburg Road, but it also includes where it starts at the Lemoyne border. So it's Hummel State, Gettysburg Road, and Simpson Ferry. So it goes from Shiremanstown to Lemoyne. And the next phase of this project is to deliver a survey. It will be an electronic survey, and it's going to be pushed out to our residents using our reverse 911 system, but it's also going to get pushed out on Facebook and on our website. And then we will also be doing a direct email. Sorry, I'm at home this evening, so if you hear my dog, I apologize. And we will be doing a direct email to Lower Allen Township staff and all of our committees. So our planning commission, the board of commissioners, the zoning hearing board, all of those members. And then we're going to be giving out a postcard for businesses and residents that are kind of right along the corridor to make sure that they're getting the information about the study. So I wanted to make sure that everybody's getting updated tonight, so that if they had residents asking them questions about the survey, they knew what it was about, or at least where to reference it.
Hey, Commissioner, do you have any questions?
Yeah, why do they keep pushing that chair? Erin has somebody pushing a chair at her house.
It's my daughter. She's opening and closing the door. I apologize. My husband is at a meeting tonight as well, so I'm working from home, and I said to staff, I'm confident that they will be entertained for about the first 45 minutes, and after that, it's all bets off, and it's now 57 minutes, so.
Hey, when your dog barked, mine did too. It heard yours.
Right.
All right.
Thank you, Aaron.
Well, thank you, Aaron, for that very informative update. Thank you. Moving on to public safety.
Mr. President, we have one thing on the agenda tonight, 13A, discussion and resolution to be presented in May. Back in December, actually December 26th of 2019, we're kind of going back in the Wayback Machine. Brian Dunbar resigned as a PSO, and we had in the budget in 2020 funds to replace him. But as everybody painfully remembers, COVID hit us by March. So while we were in the process of recruiting, we decided that we're not going to fill that position. We'll keep going with our part-time folks. But now that call volume is coming back up again and the need still exists, we actually went out and advertised. Actually, we had 5 candidates. The number 1 candidate was Justin Lanker. Justin is basically it's a firefighter currently at Midway Fire and Rescue in South Carolina, which is right in the area of Myrtle Beach, for those of you familiar with that. And he's interested in coming on board as a PSO. He's originally from this area, had gone down to that area, and now wants to come back home. He's very, very knowledgeable. He's a master firefighter. He has his hazardous materials response team coordinator down there. So he's from terms of technical rescue. He knows that he'll be a tremendous asset. And we would recommend that the board approves him to hire, and he would begin in May. So we'd be coming back to you in May with a resolution of hire. But we just want to be able to give him kind of a thumbs up affirmative, and so that he can turn in his resignation, because he's going to have to give several weeks down there in order to leave and move on. He has a house he's selling, and so there's a lot of logistics on that side. So that's the intent of bringing this to the board tonight.
Director, do we reciprocate licensure from Pennsylvania to Virginia? I know Virginia recognizes Pennsylvania teacher licenses for a short period of time.
It'll be his EMT. He's also an EMT, so he'll have to file in Pennsylvania. But those are just all technical things that have to.
Good. Mm-hmm. Good.
So Dave, so you're looking for action in that you're trying to get like a consensus?
Pretty much a consensus that we can go forward and tell him that the board is agreed in May to present the resolution, so he can start his separation process from his employer in Carolina.
Okay. So where I'll begin with this, commissioners, if you have any questions or comments, and or if you are inclined to make a motion, maybe we should get a consensus for the director tonight, given the circumstances that he described in the memo and was just described to us.
So was there a budget? Was he included in the budget, Dave?
It's a budgeted position, yes.
Okay.
And in fact, we're just now moving to fill this position in May. So it was a budgeted position, not for part of a year, but for full year.
Oh, it's all right. Okay. Yeah, Mr. President, I think if it was talked about at length at budget time, I think we're just following through with what we said we want to do. I mean, we're not going to come up with a motion to hire him. We're just now looking at getting a straw vote, as I understand it, right?
I believe that's going to be the case.
Mark me down as yes.
Yeah, yeah, and just so you know, I'm obviously for moving forward with this hire as we've budgeted. So,
So in other words, this is just to see about hiring. It's not to hire him.
No, it would be consensus to hire him, but the resolution would come to the board. We're thinking probably the first meeting in May would be
You got a yes on me.
would be the official action.
Okay, I vote yes.
We're not actually taking a vote, but we're just trying to, yeah. So is there anybody opposed to having Director Hall kind of give the thumbs up to this candidate so he can follow through and do the right thing and resign at his other job appropriately? Is there anybody opposed to that? Okay, Director, I think you have your consensus that you should be good for moving forward on this. And this gets sensitive when we talk about hiring people in their lives and stuff. We did discuss this, as Commissioner Shin said, I think at length during the budget process. So thank you for presenting this to us. Go ahead, Commissioner Kutz.
I just have a quick question. Again, and I'm in full agreement. We hashed this out during budget discussion, so this was going to happen either way in my mind. Is there I'm curious, he's going to get our word that we're going to approve it next month. Is that going to be good enough? I mean, he's not going to have anything from us. We can all say we're going to vote yes next month, but is that good enough for him to come up, or is there any kind of action that, you know, you'd be comfortable with tonight to affirm our support that we're going to make this higher?
Well, I know where you're going, Thomas, and I'm uncomfortable with it. I mean, he's going to sell his home. He's going to quit his job. I would like to vote to make the offer.
Yeah,
I can see that. I guess
that's
we were
what I'm
going
saying.
on integrity here. That's what I was.
No, that's, and Mr. Vice President, that's my point is if he's going to take these steps, I feel like he should have a concrete offer from us.
Absolutely.
Again, I'm going to vote for the concrete offer either way. I was just curious if we could do that tonight rather than waiting, because I would rather him have something official before taking those steps.
Sure, and I believe the director would be probably more than thrilled for us to give that candidate that assurance this evening.
I think that would be excellent, actually. So we would make a conditional offer, and then we would solidify that by resolution, the first meeting in May. Works.
That's my motion.
That's
Just
my
what you
vote.
said.
Okay. So Commissioner Shin, I'm going to assume you're making that motion.
I am.
Okay. And then I have a second from Commissioner Holtzman to make a conditional offer to this gentleman as described in the memo tonight. Any other questions on this? I think we're all clear on what we're doing. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any opposed? The motion carries 5-0. Commissioner Cook, I'll just say good call on that one. Good catch. Thank you. When we're dealing with people's lives and employment these days, I think that, making a firm commitment's a wise idea.
Thank you. That'll be it for me.
Moving on to our manager on the agenda.
What'd you get off on?
No, it's a phone.
There we go. Okay, I just wanted to bring to the board a project we're working on for solar energy. The company is Solar Renewable Energy LLC. They're a local company. They've been in business for 11 years. They originally approached us 2 years ago with this idea of possibly putting some solar panels on township property and replacing as much of our generation portion of our bill as possible. We at the time we weren't settled on any locations. We revisited this year after Susquehanna Township did the same thing, and I was speaking with the manager at Susquehanna Township and decided to reopen this. So I've been speaking with Mr. Seth Berry from Solar Renewable Energy, and he did give us a proposal, and I think I had sent something out to the board in your package showing the location of the possible location of solar array, and it would be the roof of the Public Works building, as well as the field, the parcel across the street, across St. John's Road, that's currently owned by the Development Authority. I did attend a Development Authority meeting last week to ask them to consider returning this property to the township for the purpose of the solar array. As I stated in my memo, they're generally positive, but they wanted to do some discussions about it because, of course, it does involve them divesting themselves of a potential valuable asset. But they've been trying to market this parcel for a long time, not actively, but they've had it on for sale for a while and haven't really had a lot of interest. They've had some interest, but people come and view the parcel and realize that the development costs are going to be pretty high because it's pretty steep hillside. It's going to require a lot of grading and retaining wall and things like that. So I don't really know how marketable it is for commercial, but I know that I did include in your packets a spreadsheet from SRE that shows the potential payback over a 40-year period. Now, there are a lot of questions that we have regarding, this 40-year period. I know Rick Grove has done considerable research on this, and we have a ton of questions yet for Mr. Barry about the panels, the inverters, et cetera, et cetera. So we're by no means in the home stretch of this process, but I did want to bring it to the board tonight, just to let you know that we're working on it and see if there's any particular questions that you would want for us to look into. I'll also open it up for Rick if he has any comments he'd like to make regarding his research.
Mr. President.
Commissioner Kutz.
Thank you. I just want to say briefly to the manager and Mr. Grove, Director Grove, I appreciate the steps being proactive and sitting down and discussing this. I think looking at renewable energy sources is admirable, and I think a wise and prudent move for us to consider. I think for me, we consider several factors in quality of life for our taxpayers and for our residents. And, renewable energy is certainly one of those aspects. So I appreciate seeing the potential cost savings here as well. So my comments would be I like the idea in theory to start. And if I would encourage staff to continue to hash out those numbers and see what our cost savings for our residents would be, what other positive impacts we would have on the quality of life. And I would love to have formal input from the Development Authority if possible. I think for us, we should weigh if one is going to be more beneficial to the other. It'd be nice if the Development Authority could say, yes, we think the most beneficial use of the property would be solar panels here or something of that sort. So that being said, I appreciate the preliminary input and would certainly ask staff to continue evaluating if it makes sense for us. And maybe if Vice President Black would like to weigh in from the Development Authority perspective, or else be happy to wait and see if they have any formal comments to make for us. But I'd love to have that input before making a final recommendation here.
Well, we have to have a meeting and have more discussion about it.
You're saying the Development Authority yet?
Yes.
Okay.
There was a bit of pushback because the Development Authority looked upon it as a developable site. Everybody heretofore has been trying to do a lot of development on it. If someone steps up and can work with the grades in that site, it's going to be a very desirable site. So we need to have more discussion with the members in on the Development Authority.
Mr. Manager, did I read in your memo that if that site was not available, we could still save a little bit less by using another parcel, or did I read that?
No, you were correct. Option 2, we did look at this, the Municipal Services Center, as to what surface areas might be available here. And we could certainly use the flat roofs, maybe even the pitched roofs that we have here on this building. But there are 3 large flat roofs on the Municipal Services Center that would hold solar array. We thought maybe we could use the hill up there between our driveway and Gettysburg Road. It's not as large as it appears. I don't think it would hold very many panels, certainly not enough to make it worth our while. So we're really just kind of looking at the roof of the building. And I don't recall, I know that it's a little bit less than what we would save with this array here in this field. But again, better some, if it's 70%, that's at 70%, we're not saving.
Mhm. That's what I thought.
Any other discussion, folks? Okay.
So
So,
more to come on that as we move forward. I think I'm kind of waiting to hear what the Development Authority has to say, but in the meantime, I'm going to have SRE go ahead and prepare a proposal for Plan B, which would be the solar panels down at this location. And again, as I mentioned, based on Rick Rowe's research, we still have a lot of questions that need to be answered. So again, we're at the beginning of the process, not the end.
I can add that the questions are outstanding, but I think the concept will be economically favorable, assuming, you know, we have the space and everything else comes together.
Yeah, the questions for Rick are pretty much, can they deliver what they say? I mean, 40 years, how are these panels going to last? And, you know, what about, who's the manufacturer? We don't even know who the manufacturer of the panels are and what the specs are yet. So these are things that we need to investigate with SR.
all right. Well, is there any other discussion, folks? All right. Is that it this evening, Tom?
That's all I have, sir.
Okay. Before we go into commissioner reports, I'll just, it looks like we're going to be going into executive session to discuss 2 items this evening before we adjourn. The first is an update and discussion on the Shaner Select Hotels Courtyard by Marriott tax appeal, and then candidates for the Economic Development Authority. I assume, Mr. Solicitor, that we may come out with action on one or both of those. That's why we're going to adjourn after.
Yeah, please recess because I will have a motion at the conclusion of my presentation that I would like to have adopted in open session.
Got it. So we will recess after commissioner reports to executive session. So we'll start commissioner reports this evening. Let's see, I don't have quite a view of the screen at this point, but let's see. Rick Grove, we'll start with you.
Okay, I thought I'd give a real quick update on the first quarter of this year financially, particularly revenues. Compared to last year, COVID really hadn't sat in by March 31st last year. Nevertheless, last year's revenues were a bit anemic in the first quarter. They are now look to be back to normal. Not counting like the transfers between the funds and any borrowings we do, we're up by almost 320,000 from where we were last year. So like I said, the first quarter, you can tell the least out of all the quarters, but so far so good. Especially when I look at the economically sensitive revenues like the real estate transfer tax, earned income tax, construction revenue, that type of thing. That is looking right about where we expected it would be at budget time, and certainly not showing anemia at the moment, at least.
Great. Thank you. Director Hall, anything this evening?
Mr. President, I have nothing else this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Director McCullough, or yeah, Brad?
I have nothing to add except for a big thanks to Dan for being an excellent mentor for the past 3 months. And I just wish him the best on his future endeavors. Thanks, Dan.
Anthony Deven?
Nothing tonight. Thank you for the continued support.
Aaron Trum?
I don't have anything further for tonight.
Thank you. Are you going to be joining us in the executive session for?
Only if you need me to.
Okay, got it. Thank you. John Eby.
Well, I'm not a good impromptu thinker or speaker, so I didn't chime in and unmute when you were giving Dan the accolades, but something occurred to me. I don't know if all of you know, Dan was the first employed township engineer that I know of that we've ever had. Before we used a third party, as a contract services. So that makes Dan, without a question, the best employed township engineer we've ever had. But his comments that he said about how he appreciates working here because the board sets policy or direction and lets the staff work means that's why we only had to ever hire one engineer in the last 23 years. So that's very important. And as I was sitting here thinking about saying that, you alluded to Dan's community service, but it's more humanitarian aid than community service. And I started jotting down things I know he's done: Rotary Club, Red Cross, Central Penn Blood Bank, Lend a Hand, Habitat for Humanity, the Mission in Maine, Lower Allen and Hampton Township Fire, probably Bethesda Mission, and I probably missed 20 things. So it's been a very humbling 23 years working with Dan.
I did remember that, John. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Thanks, John.
I am not worthy.
Leon Crum.
I'll jump on the thank you, Dan bandwagon. A lot of questions through the years that I knew only Dan would have the answers to. So now I'm looking at you, Brad. They'll come your way. But thank you for all of that, Dan, and all the help and support through the years. For us, we just received today a announcement of retirement for Officer Gelnet. His final day will be August 31st of this year. He was in the drop, but he's exiting that a little bit earlier than he had anticipated. So we'll see some more actions coming forward in the near future here.
Captain Crone, I think one of the success stories of Lower Allen Township is the cooperation between law enforcement and codes enforcement. That's just amazing. That's the way good organizations work, and you and Dan were making it happen. So thank you both.
One team thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Rebecca Davis, do you have anything further to add this evening?
Thank you, President Falone. I just want to reiterate everyone's comments and thank Daniel Flint for his guidance and help with my position over the past 3.5 years here at Lower Allen Township. So I just want to publicly thank him, and he will be missed by our department. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Bill Yeagley, anything this evening?
Good evening, commissioners. I'm just going to echo exactly what the other folks have said about Dan. Dan is part of our daytime fire crew on behalf of the PSOs and Captain Worth. I know Captain Worth cannot make it tonight. He's actually on another Zoom call. I'd just like to thank Dan for all his support during the day, running up the steps with me, getting to the apparatus, getting on the apparatus, going to fire calls, and helping, as we say in the business, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So your efforts did not go unnoticed, and my hope is that we continue to see you with Hampton, and I'm sure we'll meet somewhere along the line. So thank you, Dan, and your service is greatly appreciated.
Well, Dan Flint, do you have anything further to add this evening, sir?
Just thank you again for the previous presentation and for all the kind words this evening from everybody. Thank you very much. But I have nothing more to offer.
Okay. I appreciate everybody's patience. I'm trying to scroll because my screen isn't showing everybody at once. I'm going to go ahead since it looks like we have folks with us that have stuck it out. And Mr. Matt Shank, is there anything you'd like to add to the meeting? The good of the order of Lower Allen Township this evening, sir. Okay. Well, if there is, just let us know. Mr. Josh Nagy, anything you'd like to add this evening, sir?
Nothing tonight, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right. I see there's a Daniel Zeller online. Is there anything you'd like to add, sir?
No, thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Of course, let's see here. Oh, Mr. I thought I saw another. Is there Mr. Joe Schwartz? Are you with us, sir? There he is.
Hey, nothing further, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us this evening, sir.
Yep, thank you.
All right, and then Michelle, our recording secretary, who was new with us at the last meeting, I just would like, before I give you the floor here, if you want to say anything, I would just like to thank you for the minutes. I thought you did a fine job and they were easy to read and understand, so thank you. Anything you'd like to add, Michelle?
Nothing at this time. Thank you,
All right.
Mr. President.
All right. Oh my. Mr. Vernau.
I have nothing to add. Just again, thanks to Dan for being one of the pillars that holds me up. Gonna miss him.
All right. Commissioner Kutz, we're going to start with you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's been a busy couple weeks in terms of township business. I've been making an effort to get around and in doing so, communicate with other officials. I've had the privilege to speak with a number of other township officials from across the county relating to the drug task force and are supportive in investment in there and encouraging others to support an investment in there as well. Mr. President, I also had the chance to meet with both York and Cumberland County commissioners to discuss various items, but including advocating for funding for Slade Hill and Sheepford Road bridges, and thanking York County for their investment in the Slade Hill Bridge restoration that will be happening throughout the year and wrapping up hopefully by the end of 2021. In addition, Mr. President, it was my honor to sit in on a couple of police interviews. The process that these applicants go through is rigorous, and I learned and gained an even greater respect for our staff, Director Hall, Captain Crone, and all of our men and women in uniform who go through this process and actually take part in the interview and score based on oral skills and situational awareness. I won't say anything else to give away any details of the exam, but I appreciated Director Hall, you extending the offer to us. And lastly, Mr. President, it was my honor and privilege to join our state representative Cheryl DeLozier for a tour of Pfeiffer Memorial Arboretum last week, and that parcel's located along the Yellow Breeches and Route 83 in Beacon Hill. Gives us some nice preserved space, and I, in talking to residents, know how important that preservation of green space is, and we're very grateful to Mr. Pfeiffer for him preserving that space and for the easement along the creek for our trail. So, Mr. President, again, it was a great 2 weeks since our last meeting, and I'll look forward to getting back out in the next 2 weeks and speaking with residents and finding out how we can best serve them. So thank you, sir. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner, for the information. Commissioner Holtzman. Carolyn, are you with us? And if so, you'll need to unmute.
Hey, we got a picture.
I'm here.
All right. Do you have anything this evening?
Nothing other than, Dan, we're going to miss you. You've been a mentor to so many. There's nothing you haven't answered. And good luck in your new ventures. I think it's just admirable what you're doing. Great. And your wife, I'm sure she's involved in there. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Black.
I too sat in on 3 of the police candidate interviews. And that they are given scenarios and it was very interesting to hear their responses to those scenarios. I can see why we have outstanding police officers. And in talking with our manager, we talked about the falling tree situation, unfortunately, on Lisburn Road. And I don't want to steal Tom's thunder, but I think he's going to be in touch with property owners out there, because the trees are probably the bad trees are probably on private property. So I will stop at that and let Tom take it from there. But to Dan, you've been wonderful to work with. I work with a lot of engineers. You are one of the finest. I thank you for your time, your effort, and the success you have given to Lower Allen Township. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Ed. For Commissioner Commissioner Shen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess I'm the trifecta, because I also was sat in on a couple of interviews for the police, and between that rigor, because I've been in a few interviews myself over the years, and they're never easy. I was so impressed with the quality of the two individuals that I was sat there and listened to. But given what's going on in our country today, to see these people still stepping up and wanting to do this, my hat goes off to them, and for sure. I wanted to say that I checked out the site for the Lower Allen Commons Development Project News, and I know it's kind of scant right now because the activity is just about to start. But I really liked the way it was pretty easy, pretty user friendly to get to, and so my hat's off to, I guess, Aaron, if it's you. Congrats. If not, please pass it along.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, I like that. I thought it was good. I have two more. Oh, actually, I have one other thing. It's kind of actually more than one other thing. I'm looking at the Public Works Department monthly report. And one of the things that was done in April was to repair curb on Warwick and Carlisle. Can anybody tell me whether that was done on township expense?
Does anybody want to speak up on that? It was, but there's actually an invoice sitting over in the finance office right now to go to the person. It was a DUI chase.
Okay, so it's actually a pass through for us. Somebody else, is the owner's going to pay for it?
If we ever collect.
Okay. All right.
And it was not, just to throw in there, was not one of our police officers chasing it, with the state police.
Okay. All right. The next thing I wanted to just talk about has to do with and Commissioner Kutz, you brought up some of what you talked about tonight in our last meeting with respect to the bridges, and by the way, I would like to say to Michelle, these I've received minutes from many secretaries over the 31 and a half years that I've been on the board. Yours were pretty encompassing without being chock full too much, if that makes any sense. I think you're grabbing what's being said, and I appreciated your style. You were pleased, Mr. Kutz, or Commissioner Kutz, to hear that York County had approved $2 million in funding for Slate Hill Road Bridge, and that the Sheepford Road Bridge is getting preserved. Both bridges are closed through December for these repairs. If I am reading this correctly, perhaps in January of next year, we should expect some opening of those bridges. Is that what you're saying?
Commissioner, it's my understanding that the repairs and restoration of Slate Hill Bridge is slated for December of this year, and the manager can correct me if that's mistaken. I don't know of the plans for reopening for Sheepford. I don't believe that is anytime soon, which is why I spoke with our couple of county commissioners to see if there was anything more we could do with that.
But these minutes were reported properly from last meeting. Is that what you're saying? Page 6 of 7, at the very bottom. I just want to make sure that, because I've followed the Sheepford Road Bridge saga as well, and I was amazed that last I'd heard that they were having some difficulties.
And are you asking the question?
Yeah, I thought I did.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate in terms of you know, that Sheepford Bridge isn't being torn out and closed indefinitely. I mean, it's not that it's being removed or destroyed. So it's you know, the county's giving it a chance to be preserved, although I believe that verdict is probably a ways away as to what the final decision on that would be.
All right, so it will be it's closed through December, but there's no repairs being done now, right?
Not to Sheepford, Commissioner. Slade Hill Bridge is currently is going under those repairs. Sheepford is, I believe, sitting idle until the county decides what they'd like to do with it.
I see. The other thing I had, I'd really like to thank you, Mr. Commissioner. The other thing I would like to do is start a discussion with respect to the Board of Commissioners or individual commissioners asking for the solicitor to do any research and give us the law, that, you know, because that costs us money. And it has to do with the Bethany Village issue that we had last meeting. And unless I'm very wrong, I think the board was satisfied with the solicitor's comments with respect to whether or not we should encourage a lockbox for the drugs. The staff, I was proud of the staff, went through many machinations, jumped through a lot of flaming hoops to explain to the resident who was here asking us to do what it was not, I'm not going to say not possible, but not feasible for our staff, police and otherwise, to follow through with putting a drug box there in Bethany Village. Now, as it turns out, we did receive a memo, a letter from the solicitor, and basically saying what he told us that night. And I guess what I would like to propose for our board is a process similar to what we do when John Eby comes to us with the zoning hearing board dockets, and we he asks the board, do we want the solicitor to attend a zoning hearing board meeting? And it's a consensus of the board, which just dictates whether the solicitor goes or not. And I would like the board to consider tonight, for a discussion perhaps another time, whether or not we could do the same thing with asking the solicitor for written opinions when he gave us his opinion, and the consensus on the board was that would have been fine. Once we have decided whether or not we want the solicitor to look into something further, that he will either do that or not. And if a particular commissioner wants it in writing, but the rest of the board doesn't, let that commissioner pay for it. No offense, Steve, we love having you, but I just don't think we needed a written answer when we got what you told us anyway.
And
Mr.
again,
Commissioner, Mr. President, I throw it open for your direction, sir.
Well, I mean, at this point, Steve, you were going to chime in here, it sounds like. I guess I am interested in just a procedural issue with the meetings and running them, and then setting something action, I guess, through consensus. In this case, asking you to do something. I mean, what's been the practice and what's appropriate, I guess, is what I'm asking. And I think that Commissioner Shin's question will be answered, I think, after that somehow.
Well, I just want to speak to that. I mean, I did think that was a direct request from Commissioner Kutz. The minutes reflect that. It says Commissioner Kutz asked Mr. Minor to complete a formal investigation of this topic prior to the board making a final decision, and no one objected on the record. So, I mean, I felt that I was taking direction, and I guess if that's not the consensus, I certainly felt that it was. And, certainly I act for the board, and I'm not trying to run up the bill, but it appeared to me that that was something that if the board did not want me to do that, the other commissioners would have objected.
Okay, so and Commissioner Shin, I don't mean to steal any of your response or thunder in response, let's say, but so as for running the meetings, as I will be doing at least through the end of this year, would it be appropriate if I asked for a consensus and then directed you as I saw that consensus?
I would like to see this be done as formally as we do when we direct the solicitor to go or not go to the zoning hearing board.
I was under the impression he was asked to go. I thought that's what I was under that impression.
I'm sorry, Carolyn, I didn't hear what you said.
I said I was under the impression that he was to attend the meeting to get the facts.
Yeah,
See,
the
I
last
think
meeting.
that was what I was thinking.
No, the last meeting was not a matter of going to a meeting. The last meeting had to do with a request by a Commissioner Kutz in this particular case, for the solicitor to give us a formal response whether or not it would be right for the township to have a drug box at Bethany Village. Carolyn, I was just using the ZHB as a comparison.
I apologize, but
no problem. No problem. So rather than have it hang out there, Mr. President, I would like for a discussion to happen as to whether or not we have at least 3 out of 5 who want the solicitor to provide us with a formal presentation on what he's given us informally. To me, it's a formal answer, but to know chapter and verse, certainly this was not necessary in this case. There was nothing legal about it, as far as we weren't going to have to defend ourselves in court, so that we didn't need. But Steve, I was not finding fault with your report. Let me clarify that.
And I don't want to appear to take umbrage, but I mean, when the request was made, if others felt that was not necessary, certainly let me know that, because I act, you're a collective client. I mean, it's not, and certainly, I've said it other times, I really, when individual commissioners ask me questions, I want to answer them, and you folks don't overdo it. I mean, I think they're very, on the rare occasions that I get them, they're I keep them confidential, and I think they're useful for everyone. And I don't find anyone that takes up a lot of my time, but certainly I don't want people to also be afraid to call. But I did think, my direction was, I thought, to give you opinion letter.
Mr. President, if I could weigh in momentarily.
Go ahead, Commissioner Kutz.
So it's my recollection, and this is what the minutes reflect as well, that the solicitor gave us his belief of what the law stated, but was not sure 100% of what the law stated. I simply asked for a confirmation that that's what the law stated. That's what we received. On a case when we have a question as to whether or not the board has a legal authority to act, I think it's wise to seek legal counsel to determine if that authority exists. I will note I am judicious in my request for the solicitor to weigh in. I don't do it often. In fact, I take my questions to staff first, and I take my questions to other commissioners first, and I do my own legal research first before inquiring that of the solicitor. But my request in this particular instance was he gave us his belief, but not to a certainty. I simply asked him to confirm that. Such a confirmation, I'm sure, did not take much time on behalf of the solicitor. I think when we as commissioners have questions that are legal questions, it's appropriate for the solicitor to weigh in. I also think it's important that all 5 commissioners have an opportunity to reach an informed decision about votes. In my recollection of that was, while there may have been commissioners who were already decided to be against such a box there, I wanted to know if we could legally do it, because I wanted to know if there was something we could work out in the future that would be a beneficial resolution for everyone. So
Which should have been brought up at a board meeting.
in my opinion, Mr. President, I'm simply asking to be informed as to my vote. Again, this took very little time. We have a solicitor to answer legal questions. We need to make sure we're acting in an appropriate legal manner for our residents. If we make decisions without the solicitor's input, we risk opening ourselves up to other potential costly legal expenses that far would outweigh the cost of 30 minutes of the solicitor's time to confirm what he told us in the meeting was his belief, but to confirm that the law supported that theory.
Right.
Well, given the fact that we had gone down so many different roads and we had offered so many different alternatives, which were not, first of all, I know, Commissioner, that you are not thrilled about adding personnel to our staff in any way, shape, or form. So therefore, if we didn't really have the adequate personnel to go out and sit out in front of a box and go get drugs out of it, we had gone so many different ways, so many alternatives, none of which satisfied the resident. I was comfortable with the solicitor saying, I really don't think we can do this. And so it was a continually to satisfy the resident, which is fine when we can provide a service. But this was just one added thing.
Respectfully, Commissioner, I take issue with your comment that I don't support adding to our personnel in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I voted tonight to add a public safety officer. I voted for every police officer that the Public Safety Department has requested. There hasn't been a time that I can recall that I've actually opposed hiring staff. So I don't know why you would even say that I'm opposed to adding personnel. That's a separate issue entirely. The question here is, do we have the ability to ask the solicitor to clarify a statement of law? And the answer is unquestionably yes. And it's an essential function of our office to be able to discharge that office in a way that is consistent with the law. And the solicitor is the figure that has been appointed by the township to ensure that we act in accordance with law.
What I think I would like to do at this point, and I guess I'm not positive how this will work out, just because this discussion is going to get us anywhere right now as far as any concrete path. But what I would like to do, and I'm hoping that everybody will be content with this moving forward, at least through the next meeting, so we can get into some sort of rhythm with it, is I would like to, I'll take the responsibility when this comes up again, to ensure that at the very least, everybody has a chance to maybe express their opposition to it. I'm guessing if there's major consensus against having the solicitor do something, I've really not seen us as a board run or continue anything contrary to what our consensus has been. So I don't think we're really going to have a problem if I just do that for now. And I think so moving forward, we'll just take kind of a little bit of a straw vote once one of us brings it up. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to happen, because I agree that, and again, I guess I'm a little confused, Steve, but I do agree that if a legal question to be answered by one of us commissioners, we have the right to even to call you and get your opinion on that. That's been my understanding. And so in this case, Commissioner Kutz would, if we said we didn't want you to do that, I'm assuming he could just call you and get the answer from you. You know, so
Dean, I'm confused now.
go
Are
ahead,
you,
Caroline.
I always thought when we made a decision, there was 5 commissioners, not one commissioner calling into Steve.
So yeah, in Carolyn, so yeah, I mean, most of the time you're right. And Steve, I mean, you're kind of an odd situation, but I would ask you to chime in about the practice and the role of the solicitor and what the commissioner's relationship is and should be with regard to these type of situations. Because this isn't that we're taking a vote on a security docket or a policy issue. This is in the moment. We're looking for solicitor involvement, potentially, maybe even by one commissioner. I mean, what is the standard practice around the, you know?
I could see asking a question, but not the way this went about.
Well, no, I mean, and again,
Went about on different occasions for different. Never mind. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but no, it's so weird that anyone asked me for an opinion letter. I really felt that it was, you know, justified, and there was lengthy discussion, and I did not spend, you know, the answer was easy to get to you, and I wanted to get it back to the manager as quickly as possible. But no, I don't do a lot of opinion letters, and, you know, really primarily because they're not necessary. But to your other point, I mean, you know, I think the commissioners should be able to call me with questions, and, you know, I need to be able to answer them, you know, in a privileged way. I mean, they have to have confidentiality. And again, I put those on a bill. Like, you know, Tom knows whenever I bill them separately because this came up some time ago, to make sure that no one was taking up too much time or billing, you know, running up the township's bill. You folks are use my services in that way very sparingly, and I think very wisely. I get very few calls, but they are usually situations where someone is either, you know, needs information about an issue, or someone has an ethical concern. But I think I don't want to discourage that. I think Commissioner Kutz's point is well taken. You know, don't be worried and make a mistake and be anxious. If I can help you, I want to. But I mean, but back to the formal opinion letters, I don't write many of them. And I really felt like that was, you know, I was instructed to do that, and I wasn't trying to jump ahead and add to my bill. You know, I had plenty of other things to do, but I thought that was something that there seemed to be a lot of interest in that subject. And if I misunderstood, I really felt that you wanted the formality, perhaps if for another reason, to address it, so that the individual that discussed it the last time, you know, you had something to hand to him the next time around if you wished, or you could use it as an arguing point. Sir, we're not going to provide that service to Bethany Village because it's not available to all residents, and our solicitor's given us that opinion. So I thought that perhaps that there was some use to that.
Commissioner Shin, I'm going to give you the final word here, since this is your commissioner.
Well, I wanted to start the conversation, and we have had the conversation. I think, you know, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? I think to commit to Solicitor Minor's point, if we had to give his formal answer on it at a future date, then we could have paid him to go do that. I would have to say that I took his that is the solicitor's comments more forcefully, I guess, than my colleague. But he was the only one my colleague was the only one that asked him to complete a formal investigation. And quite honestly, again, to the solicitor's point, I guess I could have disagreed at the time. I'm just trying to come up with something that we could work with going forward that may just seem more logical at the time. I don't think we needed this legal opinion at this point in case somebody asked us for it. We were getting a legal opinion, and I was happy with that. So, and I don't want to be colored, frankly, as the commissioner who wants to go rogue and not get the solicitor's opinion. That's ridiculous. That's not what I'm saying.
Well, Rick, I can tell you that's not how I'm viewing this. I hear what you're saying. I don't think we're going to resolve this tonight, obviously.
I expected that.
Right. But I am prepared to be more vigilant myself, so that the discussion, you know, gets out there, so that, you know, if there is any opposition to it, at least it's well known. I guess we'll cross that bridge of whether, you know, the solicitor takes that action or not at that time. But I will certainly take responsibility for making sure that that discussion is crystal clear. If the solicitor is going to have direction on a question like that.
That's all I have tonight, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Did I miss anybody this evening? I thought I caught all of the folks that have joined us.
Black. Commissioner Black, you didn't ask.
Oh, yeah, no. I stated several things.
Yeah, I think I got them, Carol. Thank you so much, though. Anybody else? Okay. So before we recess to executive session, I would just like to comment on a couple things. First of all, Dan, if you're still with us, thank you again for all of your service and your friendship and your commitment to Lower Allen Township and now your continued commitment and your mission work. That is just tremendous. I know that that makes your heart feel good, and I know you're doing a lot of good with that. And again, I wish you well. I have a question about the trees situation, and I'm just wondering, where do our codes ordinances are asking these questions? They're asking just about branches that are even hanging over the roads. So whether it's a township road or a state road, is there a distinction of what that code would be? Let's say if a bus can't, is scratching the bottom of a branch or something as it's going by. Does the township have authority just to cut it? Does a resident down the street have authority to cut it if it's coming down hitting vehicles?
Well, it can't be any lower than 14 foot because there was a branch on my tree and the township told me I had to cut it.
Okay. So what I'm wondering is what is the ordinances if a tree is originally on in right of way on somebody's property, private property, and it's leaning into the street and a branch is low enough, what practice and what's the ordinance say?
Well, if it's 14 foot in the right of way, it's gonna be 14 foot in somebody's yard.
Oh, yes, that's correct. It's right now, the ordinance states not hang lower than 14 feet above the roadway, cartway, and I believe it's 8 feet above sidewalk. So if it's any lower than that, then the property owner has to cut it. And if it is in what we refer to as the tree lawn or the area between the sidewalk and the road, then the budding property owner is responsible for trimming.
Okay. Got it.
We have done it in the past when the property owner has refused to cut it, and then we generally will send the property owner a bill.
Okay. And then the trees that, obviously it's gotten our attention, in Lower Allen Township with, with somebody, the folks that had that terrible tragic accident on Lisburn Road. Do we or PennDOT or a combination make inspections along the roads at times and just say, this one's the next ice storm is probably gonna come down or has a good chance of coming down?
No.
Okay. Got it. And does liability go to the property owner? Something like that usually?
If the tree is comes from private property, it certainly would, the liability would fall to the property owner.
Okay.
And if I could finish up, Mr. President, the only other comment I have is, both the Commonwealth and the township have governmental immunity, so there has to be a defect on the township property. And generally speaking, courts don't like to get involved with natural circumstances. In other words, this is not a bad guide rail. This is not a pothole. This is not something the township constructed. This is something that nature has, whatever caused the tree to deteriorate through disease or whatever. So the highest level of governmental immunity usually attaches unless there's some notice to the governmental entity that the tree is dangling or falling over the road. In other words, it would have to be noticeable to people when someone give the notice to the township and the township still ignores the defect for liability to attach.
Okay, I understand that. Thanks. The next question I have is for Director Hall, if you're still with us, sir. And I'm just curious, back last year we had talked about, and there was some grant money, and of course we were looking at body cams. I was just wondering, how that process is evolving, if it is.
It is, and Captain Crone is moving that project forward. I understand, and he can add comment that we have the equipment. We just have some installation processing and then some training that's going to have to take place. But that project's moving very well.
Okay. Thank you.
We've just got a phone call today to set up our installation. So I'm going to be returning that call tomorrow, and we should get something on the books.
Okay, super. So we're looking at implementation maybe over the summer.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, cool. Thanks. I was just wondering. I know that project was out there. Thank you. Then finally, I just wanted every year, of course, Lisburn, the fire company, didn't have their big festival as normal last year. They had the drive-through festival, which was still a success, but of course not quite what people's expectations are for the traditional festival out there. But it looks like that festival is going to be a go this year in person. And I believe they're going to do everything to mitigate per guidelines, and at that moment, and probably knowing them, do much more than they need to. But I'm going to, again, this year be volunteering in several different capacities for that project up there. And one of them is the vendors. So I'll just make this announcement. Of course, it all goes to the fire company who ultimately supports us here in the township. If you know anybody, and there were some folks associated with the township in the past couple of years that had some interest in vendor spaces, they look for like crafters or people with different businesses that would like to just share with all their patrons for that fair. So if you're interested, feel free to shoot me an email. Having said all that, that's all I had this evening. We're going to recess to executive session, and then we will be out. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to give everybody about 30 seconds if you want to log off. If you're still here afterwards, I'm going to move you into the waiting room until the executive session's over. Yeah. Everybody's off.
Hey, I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, flush yourself down while you're at it.
Excuse me?
Connor Harrison.
Excuse me, Commissioner Holtzman, did you address me?
No, sir. Have people that I was talking to.
Okay. Tom, do you want to turn off the recording and the YouTube?
I do. Thank you for reminding me.